In this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to make shapes like this by using a simple tool called the Width tool in Illustrator. It's this little button here, and there are lots of various options to play around with. So this is a great tool to know how to use to create perfect circles, and then which you can take your direct selection tool and edit, bursts in sort of a bubble format, and even giving a sort of a hairy or more rough look by using simple tools. So to start with this, all we need to do is create a circle. Hold down Shift if you want it to be perfect. And then so I'm just going to create duplicates of this. I'm doing this on a Mac. I'm holding down Option, clicking and dragging to create those. You can also do copy and paste. So with this selected, I'm going to go over to my Width tool and just look down the different options here. So this first one here is the Twirl tool. And this is all about making sure the shape is selected and holding down, and how long you hold down is how many times it will swirl around. So if I hold down that much, so that's, maybe a quarter of a second there, this giving it a couple more. So you can't go inside, right? You need an edge to start off with, so that's how this works. But that will give you some great options there to work with. So instead of manufacturing these on your own with the pen tool, you have that option to work with the Width tool to create easy access there. Now you can also come here, because these are all editable points now, right? You can come here and work with those. So if you wanted something, now granted most of these are already more of a rounded understanding, but you can work with those. You can also click and drag, and you can change any of those points that you like. So if you maybe wanted this sort of abstract, almost eyeball looking shape, you can have that all by working with the direct selection tool afterwards. So you can try to make it as round as possible, but again, most of these are already round. But again, you take that, double click, and work with those handlebars and move those around, and you have a lot of control there that you can then work with to even make, more of a leaf shape if you want to do that. But again, coming over here to the Whirl tool underneath the Width tool, and you can also, work with a piece you've already done. So even to abstract a little bit more. So you're creating those, original curves, you're pushing those in, so then you can work with that more. And you can click and drag it as well. You can almost think of this as an awkward version of the liquify tool in Photoshop. So you can get some really fun things going on there. This is a little bit too much perhaps for a logo understanding, but if you wanted to go a little bit more abstract in the end, you could do that. Again, I'm clicking and holding down, and my computer is definitely slowing down with this massive amount of movement. But you can have a lot of fun with that if you so choose to. Remember, the more time you put on there, the more swirls you'll get, and the less you'll get thicker ones, okay? So you can have some fun with that. Next, we want to go back over here, and we can go to the crystallize. So that is just a click around the edge again, and this is a click and drag. So this would be great for a burst of bubble effects or anything like that. And this, again, I can click and move out, or I can just let it do it. So if I click and move out and expand, it can get maybe a little bit more abstract, maybe perhaps too thin. But those options are for you to discover. And again, if you go to the direct selection tool, if you double click on just one, you have that just one anchor point. But if you have them all highlighted, you should be able to move them all at once, and you can see that they all rounded out at once together. So if you wanted a smoother sort of explosion, you can get that with the direct selection. Another one you can go with is the wrinkle tool. So it's sort of It's that last one there where I said more about like hairy or a little bit like graphic there. You will get less of explosion, right? It's like really trying to work with the lines. And again, I'm clicking and holding down, and it's not really about pushing in or pushing out. It's just really the mechanism of how this tool works. So you don't have really too much control until you can start to edit it with a direct selection. But with this, it can give it a little characteristics. So, if I was to come in here and then alter it with illustrations or line work, this could easily look like a piece of driftwood or anything like that. And it helps to give it enough characteristic where it looks different from a perfect circle and might then just feel more like the business, company, or graphic that you want it to be. So with all of these, you can just come in and experiment, but those are definitely the three that I like you to work with. So we have the twirl tool, the crystallize, and the wrinkle, but you have your options here. So if you want to come in here and work with that, so this is the bloat tool, so I'm just clicking and dragging out, and it's making that nice and even for me. So I have to click and pull sort of straight and then to the angle. And depending on how much room is left is how much it will go out. You can also pull in a little bit, but it also does have like how much you can stop, right? With that, again, you can come up to direct selection and you can work with that, though this always gives it more of a rounded understanding. With the puck, it pulls it in. So a lot of these have a lot of liquefied tendencies of Photoshop, just in different mannerisms. But if you want it maybe more of an abstract shape or just to see where it will take you, you can feel free to play around with this tool, the width tool, after you've completed these three, of course. So there's a lot of interesting mechanisms you can do. From what I know of this tool, you cannot make the size of it bigger or smaller, nor can you really adjust the consistency. That could definitely be an option upon more research, but for right now, I don't see that option available. So here's another version of that. Again, working with too many lines or too thin lines can be really hard, especially with the logo when, if you want to think about it at the size of a business card and it's sitting on that business card, it can be really hard to read these lines. So even with this one, it might be a little bit harder, but they've given the option, of course, to edit all of these, but something like this could be interesting for an illustration or some abstract piece, but might not be suited for a logo specifically. But again, go into the width tool and just working with these different things here, different elements. So again, work with the twirl, the crystallize, and the wrinkle, and then feel free to do the other ones if you so desire, but those are not necessarily needed, though fun. And that is the width tool.